My grandfather would have been 100 years old this year, and he died on my birthday. And I will never forget my birthday because he sent me signs when he passed away, and he sent me a lot of birds, cardinals for that matter, which are the signs of Missouri, where my mother grew up and where I spent every summer from the time I was 13. And I never met him until I was 13. Granted, my father told him that I was born and did it behind my grandmother's back. My grandmother and grandfather got married as my grandfather joined the Army for basic training in Arkansas. My grandfather joined the Army and went into the 101st Airborne, the Screaming Eagles. And his company, the 502 PIR, most of them died on D-Day behind enemy lines. And when my step-grandmother passed away, we had him watching Saving Private Ryan with us. And he started explaining everything, and it was like we were alive in Europe with him and with his company. My grandfather was privileged to meet Eisenhower and the President Truman, which Truman actually comes from Missouri. His oldest son died from Agent Orange and is buried in a military cemetery in Missouri, which my mother and all of her brothers and sisters had to be there when he died and was buried in the cemetery. And I am privileged to have one of the spent shells from that funeral. And I will never forget that. I have actually one of his Army pictures that I have in a shadow box. When I moved out of an apartment and back into my house, my nephew took all of my father's Army medals and my father's VFW hat and the flag they gave me when my father passed away, and he put it into my sister's car as a safe keeping place, which I told him he could not have until he made confirmation. And my sister and I looked at each other. We were like, oh boy, because I told him he couldn't have it until then. But once he had it and he had the hat on, we were like, oh, forget it, he can have it. And we made a shadow box with him. And we explained everything to him. My father had an expert rifleman pin and all of his medals, except his Purple Heart disappeared, which I have to replace for him. The only thing my nephew does not have is my father's DD-214 or the Bible VFW gave us, which he will get eventually. We are a very privileged military family. My cousin's wife just came out of the military after 20 years. And I will never forget any place that my family has ever been. And we have traced our family all the way back to the Revolutionary War and coming across from England to create this very great country.